The rain-soaked streets of Seattle gleamed under the streetlights, but my heart felt like it was drowning. I was 24, standing outside a dimly lit coffee shop, watching through the window as my childhood friend, Caleb, leaned close to Mia whispering something that made her laugh. It was the third time he'd done this, and the betrayal cut deeper than ever. My name is Ethan Harper, and Caleb Monroe had been my shadow since we were 6, racing bikes down the cracked sidewalks of our small Oregon town. Back then, he was the kid who'd share his candy and cry when I fell off my skateboard. But somewhere along the way, he became the guy who took everything I cared about. First, it was Sophie in high school, then Rachel in college, and now Mia, who I'd been dating for 6 months. Each time, Caleb would charm them with his easy smile and sharp wit, leaving me to pick up the pieces of my heart. I was done being the loser in his game. That night, as I walked home through the drizzle, an idea sparked a reckless, dangerous idea. If Caleb wanted to play dirty, I'd play dirtier. I'd fake a boyfriend, someone so perfect it would drive him insane. I didn't expect it to unravel his carefully curated masker to lead me to a love I never saw coming. The next morning, I sat in my cramped apartment, scrolling through my phone for a candidate. My roommate, Javier, a 26-year-old graphic designer with a knack for chaos, sprawled on the couch, tossing popcorn at his cat. "You're plotting something stupid, aren't you?" he said, eyeing me. "Stupid? No. Genius. Absolutely," I replied, grinning. "I'm inventing a boyfriend to mess with Caleb." Javier raised an eyebrow. "You're gonna catfish your childhood bestie. That's next level petty." "Not catfishing. Just creative fiction. I needed someone real enough to sell the lie, but unattainable enough to keep Caleb guessing." That's when I remembered Lucas and Gwen, a barista at the coffee shop I frequented. Lucas was 25, with dark, wavy hair, sharp cheekbones, and a quiet intensity that made people stare. We'd only exchanged small talk, but he had this effortless charm, exactly what I needed to make Caleb jealous. I pitched the idea to Lucas the next day while he steamed milk behind the counter. "So, you want me to pretend to be your boyfriend to get back at some guy who keeps stealing your girlfriends?" he asked, his voice low and amused. "Pretty much," I said, leaning on the counter. "Just a few public appearances, some fake PDA, and we're golden. I'll pay for your coffee for a month." Lucas tilted his head, studying me. "Make it 2 months, and I'm in." "Deal." I extended my hand, and he shook it, his grip firm and warm. For a second, I forgot this was all fake. The plan kicked off at a rooftop party in Capitol Hill, the kind of place where Seattle's artsy crowd mingled under string lights. Caleb was there, of course, with Mia on his arm. I'd texted him earlier, casually mentioning I was bringing someone special. When Lucas and I walked in, heads turned. Lucas wore a fitted black jacket, his arms slung around my shoulders like it was the most natural thing in the world. I caught Caleb's eyes narrow from across the room. "Showtime," Lucas whispered, his breath tickling my ear. He pulled me closer, and we laughed at some made-up inside joke, loud enough for Caleb to hear. Mia glanced our way, curious, but Caleb's jaw tightened. I could practically see the gears turning in his head. As the night went on, Lucas played his part perfectly. He'd brush his fingers against mine, lean in to whisper nonsense that made me laugh. And once, when Caleb was watching, he tucked a strand of my hair behind my ear. My face burned not from the act, but from how real it felt. Lucas was good. Too good. Later, Caleb cornered me by the drink table. "So, you and this guy, serious?" His tone was casual, but his eyes were sharp, like he was dissecting me. "Yeah," I lied, sipping my beer. "Lucas is different. He gets me." Caleb's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Good for you, man. Just hope he's not too good to be true." He clapped my shoulder, a little too hard. and walked away. I should have felt triumphant, but something in his tone unsettled me. Over the next few weeks, Lucas and I kept up the charade. We'd meet at coffee shops, stroll through Pike Place Market, and post vague couple Y photos on Instagram, nothing explicit, just enough to keep Caleb guessing. Each time, I'd catch him watching us, his charm slipping into something darker. He started texting me late at night, asking about Lucas, probing for cracks in our relationship. I'd reply with vague, smug answers, reveling in his frustration. But the more time I spent with Lucas, the harder it was to keep things fake. He wasn't just a prof, he was funny, thoughtful, and fiercely protective. One night, after a long shift, he showed up at my apartment with takeout, claiming he accidentally ordered too much. We sat on my couch, eating pad thai and talking about everything, his dreams of opening his own cafe, my failed attempts at writing a novel, our shared love for cheesy 80s movies. When he laughed, his eyes crinkled, and I found myself staring a little too long. "You're good at this," I said, gesturing vaguely. "The whole fake boyfriend thing." He smirked, leaning back. "Maybe I'm not faking everything." His words hung in the air, and my heart did a weird flip. I laughed it off, but the line between pretend and real was starting to blur. Caleb's behavior grew erratic. He'd show up uninvited to places where Lucas and I were, always with Mia, who seemed oblivious to the tension. One evening at a bar, Caleb pulled me aside, his face flushed from too many drinks. "You think you've won?" he slurred. "This Lucas Guille's not even your type. You're just trying to make me jealous." I froze, my carefully crafted plan teetering. "Why would I need to make you jealous? Caleb, you've got Mia." He laughed, bitter and sharp. "You don't get it, do you? It's always been you and me, Ethan. Always." Before I could process his words, he stormed off, leaving me reeling. That night, I told Lucas everything about Caleb, the girlfriends, the betrayal. We sat on a bench by the waterfront, the city lights reflecting off the water. Lucas listened quietly, his knee brushing mine. When I finished, he said, "Sounds like Caleb's not just jealous of your boyfriends. He's jealous of you." I frowned. "What do you mean?" Lucas hesitated, then met my eyes. "He's in love with you, Ethan, and he doesn't know how to deal with it." The words hit like a freight train. Caleb, in love with me. It didn't make sense, yet it explained everything: his need to sabotage my relationships, his possessiveness, the way he'd linger too long when we hugged as kids. I felt sick, not because of him, but because I'd been so blind. The realization about Caleb kept me up all night. I replayed every moment of our friendship, every late-night talk, every shared secret, every time he'd push me away only to pull me back. Was Lucas right? Had Caleb been fighting feelings he couldn't admit, even to himself? And if he was, what did that mean for me? The next day, I met Lucas at his coffee shop. He was wiping down the counter, his movements steady but his eyes searching mine. "You okay?" he asked, tossing the rag aside. "Not really," I admitted, slumping onto a stool. "I keep thinking about what you said. About Caleb." Lucas nodded, leaning forward. "You want my advice? Confront him. Get the truth. You can't keep playing this game. It's tearing you apart." I knew he was right, but the thought of facing Caleb terrified me. What if he admitted it? What if he didn't? Either way, our friendship would never be the same. Still, I couldn't keep running from the truth. I texted Caleb to meet me at Gasworks Park, a sprawling green space with rusted industrial relics overlooking Lake Union. It was neutral ground, a place we'd hung out as kids, dreaming about the future. When he arrived, his usual confidence was gone. His blonde hair was messy, his eyes shadowed like he hadn't slept either. "What's this about, Ethan?" he asked, shoving his hands in his pockets. I took a deep breath, the cold air stinging my lungs. Why do you keep doing this? Caleb. Stealing my girlfriends. Showing up everywhere I go. Acting like you own me. What's your deal? He flinched, looking away. I don't know what you're talking about. Bullshit. My voice was sharper than I intended. Lucas thinks you're in love with me. Is he right? The silence that followed was deafening. Caleb's face twisted anger. Fear. Something else I couldn't name. Lucas doesn't know shit. He snapped. And neither do you. Then explain it. I shouted, stepping closer. Why do you keep ruining my life? Because you keep leaving me. He yelled back, his voice cracking. Every time you get a girlfriend, it's like I don't exist anymore. You're my best friend. Ethan, you're supposed to be mine. The weight of his words crashed over me. He wasn't just jealous, was terrified of losing me. But it wasn't love. Not the way Lucas meant. It was possession, desperation, a need to control. I saw it clearly now, and it broke my heart. Caleb, I said softly, I'm not yours to keep. I never was. He stared at me, eyes wet, then turned and walked away. I didn't follow. After that, I threw myself into the fake relationship with Lucas. But it felt different now. Every touch, every laugh, every quiet moment carried a weight I couldn't ignore. Lucas wasn't just playing a role anymore, was becoming someone I couldn't imagine my life without. But I was too scared to admit it. Too raw from Caleb's confession to trust my own feelings. One evening, we ended up at a small jazz club in Belltown. The music was soft, the lights dim, and Lucas looked at me across the table, his fingers tapping the rhythm on his glass. You're quiet tonight, he said. Just thinking, I replied, avoiding his gaze. About Caleb. About us. He leaned forward, his voice gentle but firm. Ethan, this doesn't have to be fake anymore. You know that, right? My heart pounded. I wanted to say yes, to tell him I felt it too. But fear held me back. What if I was wrong again? What if I ruined this like I'd ruined everything else? I forced a smile and changed the subject. But the moment lingered, heavy and unspoken. Caleb didn't give up. He started texting me again. Long, rambling messages about our past. About how we could fix things. I ignored them. But he showed up at my apartment one night, banging on the door. Javier let him in, shooting me a worried look as Caleb stumbled inside, reeking of whiskey. You're throwing everything away for him, Caleb slurred, pointing at me. Lucas doesn't care about you. He's just using you to get to me. That's enough, I said, standing. You need to leave. Not until you listen, he shouted, grabbing my arm. Before I could pull away, Lucas appeared in the doorway, had been on his way over with coffee. His eyes darkened as he saw Caleb's hand on me. Let him go, Lucas said, his voice low and dangerous. Caleb laughed, bitter and unhinged. Oh, look, the fake boyfriend's here to save the day. You think you're so perfect, don't you? Lucas didn't flinch. He stepped forward, placing himself between me and Caleb. This isn't about me. It's about you not knowing how to let go. For a moment, I thought Caleb might swing at him. But then he deflated, his shoulders slumping. You're gonna regret this, Ethan, he muttered, and stormed out. Lucas stayed that night, sleeping on the couch despite my protests. We didn't talk about what happened, but his presence was a quiet anchor, grounding me in a way I hadn't felt in years. The next morning, over coffee, he looked at me and said, You deserve better than this. Ethan, you deserve to be happy. I wanted to tell him he was my better, my happy, but the words stuck in my throat. Instead, I reached for his hand, and he squeezed mine back. A silent promise that maybe, just maybe, we could figure this out together. The weeks that followed were a strange mix of calm and chaos. Caleb's text stopped, and I heard through mutual friends that he'd broken up with Mia. Part of me felt guilty, like I'd pushed him too far. But Lucas kept me grounded. He made his choices. Lucas said one afternoon as we walked through Fremont, the quirky neighborhood alive with street art and bustling markets. You can't carry his baggage. He was right. But letting go of Caleb was harder than I expected. He'd been my constant for so long, even through the pain. Lucas, Thuff, was different. He didn't demand anything from me, didn't try to control me. He just stayed. And that scared me as much as it thrilled me. One night, we ended up at a rooftop garden in South Lake Union, the same place I'd imagined for our fake relationships debut. The city sparkled below, and Lucas handed me a beer, his fingers brushing mine. "So," he said, leaning against the railing, "when are you going to stop pretending you don't like me?" I choked on my drink, laughing despite myself. "Who says I'm pretending?" He grinned, but his eyes were serious. "You're holding back, Ethan. I see it. And I get it, you've been through a lot. But I'm not going anywhere." I looked at him, really looked at him, and for the first time, I let myself imagine what it would be like to let go of the fear. To choose him, not as a weapon against Caleb, but as someone I wanted, someone I needed. Before I could overthink it, I stepped forward and kissed him. It was soft at first, tentative, but then he kissed me back, and the world fell away. The city, the past, the pine, it all faded, leaving just us, tangled in a moment that felt more real than anything I'd ever known. But Caleb wasn't done. A week later, I got a call from Mia. Her voice was shaky, urgent. "Ethan, you need to talk to Caleb. He's not okay. He's been drinking a lot, talking about you nonstop. I'm worried he's going to do something stupid." My stomach twisted. I didn't want to see him, didn't want to reopen that wound, but I couldn't ignore this. I asked Lucas to come with me, and he agreed without hesitation. We found Caleb at a dive bar in Pioneer Square, slumped over a table, a half-empty bottle of bourbon in front of him. "Caleb," I said, sliding into the booth across from him. Lucas stood nearby, his presence steady but silent. Caleb looked up, his eyes bloodshot. "You brought your guard dog," he muttered, glaring at Lucas. "Stop it," I said. "This isn't about him. It's about you. What the hell are you doing to yourself?" He laughed, a hollow sound. "You really don't get it, do you? I loved you, Ethan. Not like a friend. Like everything. And you chose him." His words hit hard, but they didn't break me. Not anymore. "Caleb, I'm sorry you're hurting. But you can't keep blaming me for your choices. You pushed me away long before Lucas came along." He stared at me, tears streaming down his face. "I didn't know how to tell you. I was scared." "I know," I said, my voice soft. "But you can't keep punishing me for it." Lucas stepped forward, placing a hand on my shoulder. "Let's go," he said quietly. I nodded, and we left Caleb there, his sobs echoing behind us. That night, Lucas and I talked until dawn. I told him about the guilt, the fear, the weight of Caleb's confession. He listened, never judging. And when I was done, he pulled me close. "You're not responsible for him," he said. "You're allowed to choose yourself. To choose us." For the first time, I believed him. I wasn't just running from Caleb anymore, I was running toward something. Toward Lucas. Toward a future I hadn't dared to dream of. Life with Lucas wasn't perfect, but it was real. We started dating for real, no more pretending. No more games. We'd spend weekends exploring Seattle, from the hidden bookstores in Ravenna to the food trucks in Georgetown. Every moment with him felt like a gift, a reminder that love didn't have to hurt. But Caleb's shadow lingered. Mutual friends told me he'd moved back to Oregon, trying to piece himself together. I hoped he would, but I couldn't be part of his healing. Not anymore. I had my own life to live, my own heart to mend. One evening, Lucas took me to a small art gallery in Ballard, where a friend of his was showing abstract paintings. The room was crowded, the air buzzing with conversation. But Lucas pulled me to a quiet corner. "I've been thinking," he said, his voice low. "About us. About what happens next." I raised an eyebrow, my heart racing. "Next?" He smiled, a little nervous. "I want to build something with you, Ethan. Not just a fling. Not just a rebound. Something real. Maybe a life." My breath caught. A life. With Lucas. The idea was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. "You sure you want to deal with my baggage?" I teased, but my voice cracked. He laughed, pulling me close. "I'll take all your baggage if it means I get you." We kissed, and the gallery faded away. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of what came next. I wasn't afraid of love. Months later, I got a letter from Caleb. No return address, just a few handwritten pages. He apologized for the girlfriends, for the pain, for not being honest with himself or me. He was in therapy, working through his feelings, trying to understand who he was without me in his life. "You were my home," he wrote, "but I know now I have to find my own." I read the letter alone in my apartment, tears blurring the words. I didn't hate him. I couldn't. He was part of me, part of my story, but he wasn't my future. I folded the letter and tucked it away, a quiet goodbye to the boy I'd once known. Lucas and I kept building our life, one small moment at a time. We moved in together, a tiny apartment with a view of the Sound. Javier, ever the chaos agent, threw us a housewarming party that ended with half the building dancing in our living room. Life wasn't perfect, but it was ours. A year later, Lucas and I stood on that same rooftop garden where it all began. The city glowed below, the air cool and crisp. He'd planned a surprise dinner, just the two of us, with a small table set up under the string lights. As we ate, he reached for my hand, his thumb tracing circles on my skin. "Ethan," he said, his voice steady but soft. "I never thought I'd find someone who makes me feel like this. Like I'm enough, just as I am." I smiled, my heart full. "You're more than enough. You're everything." He stood, pulling me up with him, and we danced to the faint music drifting from a nearby bar. The world felt small, just us and the stars. And I realized I'd found something I never thought I'd have, a love that didn't demand I be anything other than myself. Looking back, I see the threads of my story: pain, betrayal, love, redemption. Caleb taught me what it means to lose, to hurt, to forgive. Lucas taught me what it means to love, to trust, to heal. Together, they shaped me, not into someone perfect, but someone whole. As we stood there, wrapped in each other's arms, I knew this was my ending, not a fairy tale, but something better, something real, something mine.